What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel for another installment of a series that I'm calling the Tune-Up, where I am hopefully able to share golf feels, tips, aids, anything along those lines that are either currently helping me, have helped me in the past, and hopefully, ideally, help some of you out there with some kind of different feels, maybe something you can work on, just one individual thought kind of thing. I did one before. I mentioned a couple things in there. So this was the second one when I had a list of ideas of kind of what I wanted to get across. This has really helped me. I kind of wish that this video, which is pretty much exactly how I got rid of a slice, was available when I was trying to do it. I watched all different kinds of videos, tried all different kinds of things to get rid of a slice, which I think their data on average is like 75% of all golfers slice the ball. So it's a very common issue. There's tons of different ways to do it. Again, some of this may be unconventional. You may agree with it some. You may disagree with it some. This is just my way of explaining it. Hopefully it helps even someone, and it's worth doing. So in terms of this video, it's going to incorporate a couple different things. It's going to be kind of my formula, which I've talked about on different live streams. I've talked about a couple different times. My formula to get rid of a slice, which over time, I noticed it after the fact, but I started slowly incorporating these things into my swing one by one. I would add a couple things, take a couple away, but these are the things as I went from playing a pretty much uncontrollable slice to now a relatively controlled draw are the things that stick out and have helped me along the way. So other videos, they're going to be more individual, just one kind of thing. This one I felt like would be kind of important. I helped one other person that I can think of. Well, there's been a couple people, but one specifically where you know who you are. It was actually me and Big Dog were helping you out, and you started just absolutely demolishing your 3-wood right down the middle. So this is going to be kind of that formula. Again, maybe your brain works one way, this understands, or you can understand this and it kind of clicks in your head. Maybe the way I'm explaining this just doesn't work for you. So maybe you take parts of it and you say, I like these parts, I don't like that part. Either way, hopefully there's something in there for you. But essentially speaking, and if you boil it down, if you're slicing the ball, it's an issue, and really there's only two ways to do it. It's a combination of your club path and your face angle. So basically, where you're swinging on your club path and either how open or how closed your face is at the point of contact. You see people, I've done it in the past, people that really slice the ball, they get up to the ball, and because they don't want to see the ball go right, they hood the ball more, or they hit the club rather, their club face more and more to where they're still swinging on a out to in path, which is causing the slice, but they think because they can shut down the face, it's going to help it. All that stuff, I tried it all. Use temporary band-aids. I think this is more of a general long-term way to start fixing things. But essentially, if you're slicing the ball, or if you take the opposite of it, hooking the ball, it's a combination between your club path and your face angle. So you got to correct both of those in order to do it, and I think these things will help. So generally speaking, if you're slicing the ball, you're coming way either over the top or outside in, meaning you're swinging more to the left, inside out being more out to the right. I'll get into that in a second. But essentially, that's what it boils down to. You're swinging out to the left with an open face, and you're essentially doing stuff like that. You're swiping across the ball. One way to think about it, if you're slicing the ball, if you're going to punch something, you're not going to go like this and swipe across it and give it a glancing blow. If you're going to punch something with power, you're going to punch directly through it and make solid contact. That's essentially the difference between hitting a draw, going directly through it, or swiping across it if you're hitting a fade. So how do you fix those things? A lot of it comes down to setup. So if you guys think about a baseball diamond, first base, second base, third base. If you're slicing the ball and you just think, last time you hit a shot, where do you think you're aiming and where do you think you're swinging towards? I don't know if you've ever thought about that before, but I feel like most people, they say, well, I'm aiming down the middle, so I am aiming towards second base, which is right down the middle, and I'm swinging towards second base because I want to hit it straight, which is right down the middle. Realistically, whether you realize it or not, I didn't realize it. If you're slicing the ball, what you're doing is you're most likely lined up between either your feet, your stance, basically how open or closed your stance is. Most likely your shoulders are also wide open. What is happening is you are lining up and you're swinging towards third base, even though it feels like second base. You're lining up and swinging towards third base, and the ball is starting that way and tailing way off to the right. So to fix that, what you need to feel like you're doing is you need to line up and aim towards first base, which, believe me, if you're slicing the ball, the last thing you want to do is aim right because it'll just go further right. But that's honestly step one. If you can do it on the range, do it in a simulator, that's the way to do it. So most likely you're going to have to do this a couple times. If you hit the ball, you're likely still going to have a wide open club face if you change nothing else. So you're going to aim right, the ball's going to start right, and the face is going to be wide open, so it's still going to go way right. But you need to break the habit, and what I needed to do and come to terms with it is what it feels like you're probably aiming and swinging right down the middle towards second base. It's most likely not. It's most likely towards third base. So if I was lined up that way, another way to think about it is that, again, would be dead straight. Likely, what you feel like you're doing and what you think is straight is closer towards this. So you're lined up, shoulders, everything out towards left field. And to fix that, what we need to do is just the opposite. Golf, game of opposites. You need to line up. What helps some people is feeling like you drop your back foot back, but line up and swing towards first base. So once we get that done, it comes down to the swing. So throughout the swing, what I feel like really helps me to commit to that is feeling like both setup, backswing, and follow through, hitting the ball, everything, that my back is the feeling of my back stays towards the target. So as I'm swinging, when I even line up, take the club back, obviously you can exaggerate way too much, but the feeling is you want to keep your back pointed towards the target for literally as long as possible throughout the entire swing. It'll get you into better spots. It'll make you come more from the inside. The problem is when you come over the top, if you've heard that, you could still be set up pretty decently with a closed stance out towards first base. But if your back doesn't remain towards the target, what's going to happen is you come out to the top, and if you're anything like me, you're excited to hit the ball from here, and you kind of step on the gas and put some power into it up here. So what happens is you come way over the top, which is called, you spin out, your shoulders open way up, and by the time you're over here, you're actually decelerating to the ball, you're coming through, and now instead of coming from in to out, you're over the top this way, coming from out to in and across the ball, back towards third base. So line up towards first base, commit to swinging out that way, keep your back to the target as you're swinging. So we can hit one, we'll line up that way. I'm going to simulate it here. I don't know who's going to be stumbling across this, but I have, it's called HLA, the horizontal launch angle. So a good way to do this is this white line on the range is right down the middle. What you want to do is probably pretty daunting. If you play a slice, you're going to be used to starting it way left with an open face and have it come back. So you're probably used to seeing something closer to that. It starts basically 4 degrees left, fades back. Honestly, that's almost a tough shot for me to hit. So the point is, you're starting it left and it's fading back. What is the opposite of that? You got to start it right and try to have the ball work its way back to the left. So first things first, what you would do is just get more comfortable lining up either your feeling of your back foot's back, even just really exaggerate and really shut it down to where you're going to hit like a pull. But you need to feel one extreme to the other. If you've never felt what it's like to consistently kind of hit like an intentional pull hook to where you're trying to like shape it around a tree, I honestly think it's really beneficial, because if you work in extremes one way and the other between hook and slice, eventually you'll be able to bring it back in. So apologies, this is getting long-winded, but step one, all those things I just explained, aim out to the right. And what I was saying with the HLA is a good test is to see if the ball is in fact launching right of center out towards first base. So that one, I didn't release the club. That's more what you would see. It launched way to the right, 8.8 degrees right. And because I didn't release the club and square it up, everything was really good. So like from what you guys are going to, likely from a slice, your club path would be 2 to 10 degrees out to in. That one was 8.3 degrees into out. Obviously, I was very exaggerated and I shut it way down, but that's not a bad thing. I'm swinging way more from the inside, so I'm swinging out that way, 8 degrees. My face was still open, so it started right and stayed right, but you got to get comfortable aiming out that way. So the final piece here now is the club face. And the best way that I have to explain it, which really helped the person I talked about before, I don't know necessarily if he wants me to mention him. He knows who he is, so he's a really good guy. But the best way that I can explain it is if you're struggling releasing the club, whether you still slice the ball, how severe it is, anything, this will, I think, still help. If you've ever played tennis or ping pong, If you're right-handed, a forehand is going to be holding the racket or the paddle with your right hand. You can even grab one if you have one, but holding it with your right hand and the feeling of hitting a forehand shot and putting topspin on it. So if you think about that before I even do it, if you're holding a racket with one hand and you take it back and you say, okay, I'm going to try to put topspin on this ball, how are you going to do it? Most likely, you're not going to come over this way and try to do anything crazy. What you're going to do is you're going to kind of stay back with your back towards the target. You're going to be kind of seeing the ball come in. You come through, and as you're coming through, you're rotating that wrist, and you're trying to put spin on it that way. So the feeling of either ping pong or tennis, putting topspin on the ball. What that's going to do is as you're coming through, you don't ideally want to get super rotational with the face. So a lot of it, there's more to get to it, but you don't want to get into a habit. Sometimes you see people where they flip the club way open. You want to try to minimize the amount of rotation. But just to get rid of the slice, first and foremost, you need to have that feeling like you're coming through and either that right arm going over the left. For me, again, just the feeling. You don't necessarily need to see how it looks, just the feeling of you want your right hand to be a little more dominant in putting topspin on the ball. So you put all those things together, you aim out towards first base, you swing out towards first base, you commit to that. Club face, you will find once you start doing it, you can make it more and more actually open, which will probably look terrifying by the ball. Aim towards first base, commit to swinging out towards first base, line up and swing the entire time with the feeling of your back staying towards the target. For me, like my back, my left shoulder blade feels like as long as possible, it stays at the screen. From there, once you get down here, ideally, your hands are dropping more into the slot. You're coming more from the inside. You're getting rid of that bigger over the top, which may be a work in progress. From the point where you're to about down here is the feeling, ideally, where you step on the gas and you feel like you're going to hit a forehand with topspin. You put all of it together, and the ball should launch right. It should be relatively controllable. You're going to work on it, but it'll launch right and draw back to the left. And if you're anything like me or anyone that notoriously slices the ball and you can't figure it out, as soon as you start seeing the first couple balls go over to the left with left side spin, which you'll pick up a ton of distance, it's honestly a really cool thing. So hopefully, if you guys are able to work on this, and I shank it on the one example. Again, this is pretty fitting for the series here. I'm by no means, as you can tell there, a golf professional, a swing coach, anything even close to the sorts. I'm just explaining what I think, how I've thought about things, and what has helped me in the past. So that shank there with me trying to demonstrate a draw is honestly pretty fitting. That's what you're going to kind of come to expect around here. And that was the anti-shank the ball, but that's my 8-iron. That was toey, and I really overdid it because I just shanked the last one, but it did start fractionally right, and if you guys are slicing the ball, you're going to be very, very happy to see. I wouldn't necessarily consider that a good shot. That's a miss left, but you're going to be very happy if you see anything close to 1,500 RPMs of left side spin. Whether you're on the range, you have the numbers or not, just seeing the ball start right and come back left is going to be an awesome, awesome feeling. So if I can actually hit one more halfway decent with any kind of control. Closer towards that. So there's other things that I've been thinking about lately with my swing. That one was hit better, but the ball launched 3 degrees to the right. I swung into out. Sometimes you can get a little bit too caught up in the numbers. 8.2, just speaking in general rule of thumb, that is probably too aggressive in terms of my club path, but that's just the way it is. I'm in a limited space, all that kind of stuff. So you aim a little bit differently in the sim. In any event, the ball started right. I swung out towards first base. I tried to have the feeling of my back staying towards the target, which throughout the swing gets you in a way better position. It makes it a lot easier to come from in to out. And then finally, I want to get away from encouraging you guys to get really timey with it. But if your club face is wide open, you got to do whatever you can at this point to shut it. So the final piece is just being, as you're coming through, ideally right around waist height, knee height, the feeling of putting topspin, either tennis or ping pong, with your right hand primarily, topspin on the ball. And all that put together should give you something close to that in terms of a ball flight. The ball starts right turns over to the left, you will pick up a ton of distance. You got to think, if you're slicing the ball right now up towards 10, 20, 30, even 40 yards of a slice, as soon as you get rid of that and you add that onto here, it's not only going to add that extra distance, but now if you're putting left side spin on the ball, it's going to be naturally a little bit lower spinning in terms of backspin, so it's going to go even further on top of that. So one good thing, it's not going to be the easiest thing to do. You're not going to be able to do it overnight. Hopefully, if all of that didn't click, maybe one part of it clicked and you say, okay, I'm going to try it, but I guarantee you it's worthwhile doing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you look at any really, really good golfer, they don't always work the ball both ways, but they know how to do it. So if you're in a process right now and you're kind of stuck in a cycle of not being able to get rid of the slice, you really need to feel what it's like to hit a draw, hit a hook. And now that I say that, just before I wrap it up, I mentioned it throughout, but you can really exaggerate that. So that one I was trying to straighten out a little bit, but just at the beginning, like, you can get really crazy with it. So my back is quite literally towards the target. Shut it down super, super far. You're going to feel like you're aimed all the way over here. Have the face, what even looks relatively square or shut, and hit some like this. So you get to the point where you start absolutely hooking the ball. You're gonna love to see that. Then you slowly work your way back to where middle would be closer, and then all the way to the far end. I swung so far that way it didn't even pick up the club path. But the point is, you go to extremes one way or the other. So take 5 minutes, hit 5 balls with your stance extremely closed, and that feeling of topspin on the ball. So this video has probably already been long enough. There's a couple different ways to explain it, but hopefully I did a good enough job of kind of putting all those primary pieces together. And once you boil it down, again, there's different ways to look at it. Those are really the main components of either drawing the ball, hitting it straight, or slicing the ball. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Shout out to the members. Like I always say, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm not even on camera. I was looking at something on the computer, some data. Shout out to the members. Like I always say, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.